What do we know? I mean, what are we, 5 years or so, not a decade yet, into the artificial intelligence revolution in government? What do we know now that maybe surprises folks that were there at the very beginning?
Well, let me share my observations as someone who's actually been in the field of AI for more like 25 years and really seen multiple iterations. But I agree with you that the last 5 years has really been transformational. And I think we've learned a series of really important lessons, right? One of the immediate lessons that's been learned has to do with essentially the importance of framing the right mission to apply AI to. And that is the right combination of a business problem and a problem where the right data exists to actually make an impact. When we've seen projects framed that way, they can be extremely impactful. And that was sort of the first generation of insights I think were coming in. I think the next generation for customers who kind of have conquered that point of insight has been that it's really important to think through how AI technologies are actually introduced in a series of kind of cascading levels of capability, because organizations that rush to introduce too much AI, too much autonomy too quickly, what we often run into is a lot of human resistance to the technology. And frankly, a lot of failures because we don't really understand the full range of risks and challenges introduced by using AI. So I think one of the things we've certainly introduced, and I know many others have as well, is kind of a structured methodology for how we introduce AI into new problem spaces to kind of overcome those issues of human trust. And those issues of human trust are really foundational. Are we actually producing AI that humans understand and that they trust, that they can have insight into? And also, do they understand the limitations of the AI and when they should actually not trust what the AI is telling them? Because that's equally important. Looking out beyond this, I think the next generation of challenges we're facing has to do with actually taking on new kinds of mission challenges. How do we enable really rapid decision making using AI? We can throw labels on images, we can translate text, all these are really helpful for processing massive amounts of data. But how do we, no kidding, make really fast decisions of high quality with AI? And then how do we assure that those decisions are going to be the ones we want? Those are next generation challenges that we're really excited about.
So one of the items there that you mentioned, I have a much smaller scale, but a real life example that occurred to me. I was taking my son somewhere recently, and the GPS system said, go this way, and I said, that's ridiculous. That's the dumbest way to go, and we went a different way and got there a lot sooner. That concept of when not to trust what the AI tells you, is that art or science, and how does one develop whatever the skill is that's necessary to know I maybe should think twice, or we as a group should think twice about that, whatever that is?
I think this is where the concept of introducing AI in the right way to the mission is so important, right? If you just throw humans to an AI system that they have no opportunity to really interact with, it's very difficult for humans to develop that intuitive sense of when to trust and when not to trust AI. On the other hand, what we find is extremely successful is if we introduce AI through sequential levels of essentially, initially the AI providing humans assistance and then learning from how the humans respond to that assistance to get better and better. And that way, building up organic trust and at the same time understanding the limitations of the system. And then the other piece of that that's really important around human control is kind of being able to dial the level of control of the AI, right? So I don't have an on-off, a binary choice of does the AI help me or does it get turned off. Instead, I can understand the AI is going to help me this much, and I should trust it to do these things or this part of the mission. Maybe things are happening too fast, and I need to rely more on the AI. Maybe I've got a lot of time, and I'm just going to use the AI to help me gather more information and process more information. So I think that level of dialable control is also really important in the way we introduce AI.
At the very beginning, you said the two things that are really necessary to dive in: knowing your business problem and defining it, and knowing that the right data exists. How does one know that the right, there's so much data. How does one know that the right data exists to address whatever that business problem is?
It's a really important question, and certainly one of the things we've learned, and I think everyone in this industry has observed from the successes and the challenges in introducing machine learning-based AI, has been the importance of having the right data up front to get the process started. So One of the things that we typically do is go through a stage of actually data discovery and data analysis up front, and using machine learning-based tools to actually analyze the data and see what the data is telling us, and also what the gaps are in the data. And as I mentioned, that kind of intentional AI introduction approach can also be really important, because you can actually use the human responses to initial AI-based assistance as a way to create new data that you need to improve the way systems perform. But absolutely, kind of choosing the right framed problem is critical. So we've had a number of mission successes where the key has been, did we survey the data, find out what the data can tell us, and then figure out how to act on that. Framing the combination of the data and the business problem is essential.
So I scribbled down a question as you were talking about analyzing successes, and I realized as I listened to you go on, I probably have fallen victim of shiny object syndrome, thinking about AI success. It looks, it's a different thing. The question I wrote down was, what does success look like? But I guess that depends on what the business problem is, right? If you've solved the business problem, that's success in AI like it is in any other thing.
And I think that's really important, right? Keeping an eye on the ball, that this is really about transforming a business process. So let me give you an example of what a success looks like for us. We have a business process that involved doctors looking over federal medical records for veterans, scanned medical records, and it was a very time-consuming process for doctors to actually look through all this data. Well, what we did was apply AI to dramatically reduce the data they had to look at by essentially weeding out all the irrelevant material. And we were able to reduce the work that doctors were doing by about 95% and allow them to focus their attention on the most important material, and then also to have more time to spend with patients. That's an AI success, right? That's a real transformation in a process. It leads to better ultimate end user services and much better experience for the person who's actually interacting with the AI as partner as well.
As we've talked about this, 25 years, I've been really probably paying attention for the last 5. As you describe it, it sounds like an evolutionary process. What do you think the evolution of the next 3 to 5 years will be, particularly in the government space?
Well, I think obviously we're seeing now organizations using AI more across the entire spectrum of the ways they do business, which is really exciting, right? Not thinking about point solutions in AI, but thinking about how they can become data-driven organizations, particularly as they go through the digital modernization, digital transformation process. Because as they go through that process, really, we heard earlier from Greg and others, there can be this kind of fatigue if you're not delivering kind of transformation and value as part of that. If it's just about lifting and shifting into a new environment, what's the point, right? But with AI, you gain that opportunity now to be applying kind of new insights and new business processes across, or transforming a whole range of business processes. And I think that's the transformation we're seeing now, is not just, hey, I can solve this little point problem, but now that I've transformed my enterprise and I've transformed my data, how can I use AI to transform all my business processes?
Ron, I appreciate the insight. It's really great to learn from you. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.